Black Men Stop Dating Fat White Walruses, a Brian Solange classic. Available now only on Patreon.com. As a Brian Blogs Corner Club member, you gain exclusive access to all featured blogs, articles, poems, classic videos, and documentaries produced and uploaded to previous channel platforms between 2014 and 2017. And if you upgrade and become a sneak peek member, you will have access to all archived content, plus a 1-week early viewing access guarantee to all newly produced major video and docu-commentary content. Don't miss out. Become a valued patron member today. Hey guys, before you watch this super awesome video presentation from yours truly, be sure to follow me on Twitter at Brian Solange, on Gab at Brian Solange, and on Instagram at Brian Solange. I've decided to step up my game. I will begin posting updates including heads up, sneak peeks, and reminders on all upcoming videos, live streams, and projects, in addition to starting general conversations about whatever in order to better connect and interact with you guys, my equally awesome supporters. Because of course, without you, none of this would even be possible. Also, don't forget to subscribe to me over on BitChute and my newest venture, Brighteon, as well as friend me on Facebook. And be sure to check out my personal website at formmotion.com. Sign up and feel free to participate in or even start your own conversation thread about almost anything. Unless you're a feminist, we promise not to judge. If you want exclusive access to my archived and classic content, along with sneak peeks of newer content including written blogs, short films, docu-commentaries, original poems, and more, be sure to sign up and become a valued patron of my work over at patreon.com. Of course, if you want to show your individual support, you can always feel free to make a donation to my PayPal. Any little bit helps, and your donations are always appreciated. And last, but certainly not least, be sure to sign up and subscribe to me on FS Avenger. Even if you don't like my content, sign up to FS Avenger. It's the first of its kind video sharing platform made, owned, and run by free-thinking black men exclusively for free-thinking black men. Nothing of this magnitude has ever been done quite like we do it over at FS. It is bold, daring, innovative, and most importantly, it's black. Thank you so much for your support and enjoy the video. Deuces.
But we are following breaking news just into the Local 4 newsroom. Police are on the scene of a double homicide in Warren. That's story tops our news here at noon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Evrod Casimay. Right now, investigators are trying to determine exactly what happened here. Otis and DeQuinder Roads, right near 9 Mile, is where the scene is. Sean Lay joining us now live this afternoon to update us on what we know right now. Sean?
I can tell you, Evrod, we're right on Otis at Christopher here in Warren. This is an emotional scene, and you can see detectives coming and going. Let me show you the entire scene because it stretches really here, the entire block of Otis, and you have Warren police investigators combing every angle of this street. And here's what's happening. They got a call from another department this morning, a neighboring department. We believe it was the Detroit Police Department, to come here to a home. And when police arrived, they have discovered what is looking like a double homicide with a homicide suspect out there on the loose. It's extremely emotional. Family has flocked here to this block because they are so concerned about who may have been lost in this double homicide. And they are waiting for word, and they have not gotten word yet because investigators are here waiting on a search warrant so they can go inside the home and start this investigation. So it is tense, it is emotional, and it is a double homicide. What we're seeing up and down the street is canvassing what people saw, maybe what doorbell cameras or other security cameras saw to maybe give them a leg up on a suspect. And family members are here talking to police, telling them everything they can about who may come and go from the house or who may be involved in the house. But I can tell you, this is not a good situation. No homicide is good, but this is extremely emotional because we're talking about a family, and the family has children, and the family's waiting to see who's been lost and what exactly happened and who is responsible. Police Commissioner Dwyer was here at the scene to collect some information, and then he left. We are waiting to get the official update from him to get the facts of the matter. But that's the scene that you're looking at right now. And I can tell you, it is tense, it is emotional, because family, they just simply do not know yet exactly what's happened, who's been lost in their family, and you can imagine how brutal that is, waiting for word. We continue to work with the police and our sources, but it's really Commissioner Dwyer who says he's going to collect the facts, get the facts of the matter, and inform the family first. That's most important. But what they're waiting on right now is the search warrant to go in to really just begin the investigation. Evrod, that's the scene here in Warren. Back to you.
Our hearts, of course, going out to that family that is grieving right now as
Big
investigators
time.
are
Big
working
time.
to gather more information. Sean, thank you for the update there.
Community in mourning. Tonight, hundreds gathered at a vigil to grieve for a little boy taken by a ruthless killer. 6-year-old Tyrez Moore was shot execution style along with his father's girlfriend in Warren. His dad also found dead in a burned out car in Detroit. Well, tonight, 7 Action News reporter Rudy Harper tells us the vigil comes amid a possible break in the search for justice.
Well, this crime sent shockwaves through the community. Tonight, a call to action. Hundreds gathered here calling for an end to senseless gun violence and justice, and it was raw and emotional.
When it come to babies out here, you talking about no snitching?
Heavy emotions as a community mourns.
Something gotta change.
Hundreds gather at a candlelight vigil and struggle to understand how someone could murder a 6-year-old.
Say his name so that whoever did this can be caught.
His name was Tyrez Moore. Police say he was killed execution style along with his father's girlfriend. They found them in the basement of this Warren home. Tyrez's father was found slain the same day miles away in Detroit in a burned out car. Tyrez's grief-stricken mother wants the violence to end.
When I had my son, I knew he was going to be special. My baby gone. My baby was only 6. He just turned 6 in July. His tooth ain't even come out yet. He still got baby teeth.
Just hours before the emotional vigil, authorities searched a home in Bloomfield Hills in connection to the death of Tyrez and his father's girlfriend. A person of interest was interviewed and evidence seized at the scene.
Almighty God.
Meantime, loved ones find strength through their faith and call for change.
We gonna get justice for this baby. We gonna get justice for this baby.
An emotional tribute. There is a growing reward for any leads to solve this case. If you have information, call police. In Detroit, I'm Rudy Harper, 7 Action News.
Warren's police commissioner has called it evil and senseless, but so far, the person who killed a 6-year-old boy and a 28-year-old woman execution style is still on the streets.
And tonight, the mother of the woman killed is speaking out to the defenders as she deals with the grim, sad task of laying her daughter to rest. Sean Lay spoke with her just a short time ago, and he's with us now live. Sean.
And Devin, this grieving mother revealed to us she just viewed her daughter's remains, picking up new clues and new incredibly disturbing details about what was done to her and the little boy that was with her that she says are absolutely just shocking. And at the same time, she's now caring for her daughter's 8-year-old left without a mother.
My baby. That was my baby girl. She had a daughter.
Durlanda Farmer is talking about her daughter, Isis Rimson.
She was the sunshine. You could not come in her presence and not feel loved, appreciated, uplifted.
But the 28-year-old was found shot to death in the basement of a Warren home last week, along with her boyfriend's 6-year-old son, Tyrez Moore. Tyrez's father's remains found burned in a car in Detroit. Farmer just viewed her daughter's remains, picking up shocking information about what was done to her by the killers. Information she says only the killers know and that she'll hold on to for now.
Let's make her life matter. Please.
This case continues to shock the community. Detroit rapper Trick putting up $6,000 in reward cash to catch the killers. Detroit pastor Welton Smith matching that $6,000 today.
That Trick, my hat go off to you, man. But he can't do it by himself. So let's create a community in a moment where the street work with the church and figure out that while the police are trying to figure out what they're trying to figure out, maybe the church and the community can come together. So as this new evil is arising, we can reestablish a culture.
Her life mattered. She was a victim of a vicious crime.
And with the killers still out there when they lay their daughter to rest, it's going to be basically secret and heavily secured. Devin Kimberly, we watched this mom put her arm around her granddaughter and walk back into the house, now caring for the granddaughter. She has a GoFundMe to help with the granddaughter's future. We'll link that to our page. Click on Detroit.com. A couple quick things about pastors and celebrities getting involved. This mom says she is all for it. More should jump in. In fact, rapper T.I. was on a Facebook Live yesterday with thousands watching and was told of this incident, so it is getting coast-to-coast coverage right now. Back to you.
And Sean, do we have any sense of where the investigation stands right now?
We check every day, and we're told that it's all hands on deck. Detectives there in Warren working the case extremely hard, working with Detroit police homicide investigators, but still piecing everything together. No arrests have been made at all.
All right, Sean.
Well, we have a new twist tonight in a triple murder investigation involving a 6-year-old boy, his father, and his father's girlfriend.
Warren police are questioning a person of interest after a search warrant was executed this morning in West Bloomfield.
7 Action News reporter Jennifer Ann Wilson is live near the home at the center of today's investigation. And Jennifer Ann, what is the connection there?
Well, at this point, what we know so far is that a man was taken from this West Bloomfield home by police for questioning, and that same man is a person of interest in this case, but we don't know what police believe his connection is to these murders, or if the man actually lives in this home or was just visiting when police showed up with a warrant.
They came banging. They literally woke us up and we were like scared and we're like, what's going on?
Around 8 a.m. this morning, a neighbor who doesn't want to be named watched as police surrounded the home across the street, where a couple in their 60s has lived for more than 20 years.
Great people, honest, loving, caring, beautiful people. So I'm shocked right now. I hope it's nothing.
Warren Police, Detroit Police, and federal agents executed a search warrant as part of an investigation into what police are calling an execution-style murders of 6-year-old Tyrez Moore and 28-year-old Isis Rimson. They were found last week shot to death in the basement of a home in Warren, shortly after police found the young boy's father also shot and killed. Today, police took at least one vehicle into evidence that is registered to a person at this address on Margate and appeared to remove evidence from the home. Police canines were also seen going into the home. Now, we are told that the couple who lives here has 2 grown children and grandchildren. Police did take a male person of interest in for questioning. It's unclear at this point who that man is. Neighbors say they just don't believe their longtime neighbors would ever be involved in such horrific crimes.
And they're great people. They're amazing people. We've known them forever, and I'm shocked right now what you're saying.
Detroit churches teamed up with Crime Stoppers to increase reward money for any information leading to an arrest.
The first is that they are found, apprehended, prosecuted, and put in a position that they can serve out the rest of their days.
Well, the Crime Stoppers reward is now above $10,000 and rising. If you have any tips that could lead police to an arrest in this case, you can contact Crime Stoppers or Warren Police. You can remain anonymous. Reporting live here in West Bloomfield, I'm Jennifer Ann Wilson, 7 Action News.
All right, Jennifer Ann, thank you for the update.
Well, tonight we're getting our first look at the man charged in what police are calling the execution-style murder of a man, a woman, and a 6-year-old little boy. Nicholas Bari faces multiple homicide charges, with all of them facing life sentences. Victor Williams is following today's arraignment. And Victor, this man has a long criminal history.
Yes, that's right. Long criminal history indeed, and we're finally getting a look at him. This right here is Nicholas Bari. Like we said before, he has a long criminal history and now a long list of charges involving the death of 6-year-old Tyrez Moore.
People versus Nicholas Rod Bari.
Nicholas Bari appeared in court, finally answering to a judge for allegedly being the person behind the death of 3, including 6-year-old Tyrez Moore.
Warren PD officers Doe and Wiggins entered the home and found victim number 2, Isis Rimson, black female 28, and victim number 3, Tyrez Moore, a black male 6 years of age, deceased with multiple gunshot wounds in the basement of the home.
He's facing 15 charges, including 3 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of felony firearm. But while he was inside being arraigned,
I see him leaving his house. Killed my baby.
The mother of Isis Rimson was outside the courtroom, openly grieving and hoping for justice.
My grandbaby will live without her mother for the rest of her life.
Back inside, Bari wasn't able to afford an attorney, asking the court to appoint one for him.
I think I should get an attorney.
You want the court?
I mean, I think maybe I need to get appointed one.
Okay.
Well, whatever you did, was it worth it? And you still don't have money to get your own, and you need a court-appointed attorney?
And as far as the motive in this horrific case,
it was all about drugs and money. And I'll leave it at that.
My daughter, 6-year-old stepson, her fiance, they deserve to rest in peace. Was material things and money worth these people's lives?
Now, in the past, Bari has been charged with possession of narcotics. On top of that, breaking and entering. He's due back in court on October the 22nd. Reporting live in Warren, Victor Williams, Local 4.
What's going on, guys? So, I don't think there is anyone who heard the details of this story when it first came out, or after watching the intro of this video, that is not somewhat disturbed by this very tragic case out of Detroit and the greater Detroit metropolitan area, which occurred about 2 months ago. I personally wasn't going, I have a policy even now with my main channel of YouTube down that I don't do commentaries on ScrewTube anymore for obvious reasons because of their censorship. But since my main channel has been down, I've kind of been scrambling, producing short videos and kind of uploading stuff on alternative channels, and I've produced so much content in a small amount of time since I was forced to temporarily remove my own channel because of 2 strikes that I received, that I decided that I should just use this video not only as a commentary on this very disturbing case, but also to promote another video that I have available right now in the description box, instead of making this a commentary and then making a whole another promotional video on this video, because again, I have like 8 or 9 videos racked up right now, and I'm busy with a lot of different things. FS Avenger, in case you haven't heard, is getting ready to change hands. I'll tell you guys about that a little later, or maybe by the time you hear this story, I've already made that announcement. But there's a lot going on, so I figured I'll make an exception to my rule in this case, to go ahead and use YouTube to address this issue. But again, this is also a promotional video, so let me show you let me let you know what currently is in the description box, as well as the pinned post across all 3 platforms that I'm operating on now, that are alternative video sharing social media. For one thing, guys, if you heard me mention anything about rumble.com, scratch that. Those pieces of shit, they pretend that they are pro freedom of speech and pro freedom of expression, but I uploaded some hardcore videos over there and got rumble.com and got banned within the first fucking day. So they're not true upholders and defenders of the First Amendment, so fuck them. They're actually worse than ScrewTube. Rumble.com can go to hell, but hey, most of y'all probably never heard of them, so and that's probably why, because they're just a little bullshit ass platform. So anyway, that's just a side note. Currently right now I have a video, some of you may have already seen. I did 2 more doll tutorial videos of my high-end TPE doll collection. One was a standing video, because I had mistakenly told you guys in the first video that you couldn't stand the dolls without special equipment. Well, turns out I was wrong. Not only can you stand them, but you can stand them in high heels. Not only can you stand them in high heels, you can stand them in open-toed high heels. And I got some advice from other veteran doll owners on how to do that, and it works to a charm. After I released my standing doll tutorial, I also released a nude, that's right, as in naked doll tutorial. Obviously not here on ScrewTube. So all total I have like 3 doll tutorials, but behind that I got to thinking, after doing those tutorials, in relation to some things that you brothers had emailed me, and I decided to make a 4th video that's not really a doll tutorial, but I do show off pictures of pretty much a collection of all the pictures that I've taken of my dolls just this year. And while showing off those pictures, I further elaborate into the Marlboro for life, aka I'm a Marlboro man mindset, which led me to get to the point where I began this quest to become a high-end doll collector. 10 years ago, not something that I would have even remotely thought about seriously. I first saw these dolls in like early 2000 when they were $5,000-$6,000 a piece and they only had silicone. I thought it'd be nice to maybe have one, but I wasn't serious about it. It was kind of like, that nice car, that nice big house that you see that you say, yeah, maybe someday if I get rich. But what really put me on the warpath to becoming a doll collector, and more importantly, using my doll collection to, substitute for, relationships with human women. That is what I kind of go into detail and explain in the video, which is in the description box, because I think it's obvious at this point. It's no hiding the fact that I like most heterosexual males, I like looking at attractive women, obviously. But I don't, the thing of it is, and this is the Marlboro man mindset that has developed in me, while I like looking at beautiful women, I don't like dealing with women because, of things that we have explained over the years. And so, yeah, I kind of explained the mentality and the psychology that led me to this point where I kind of put two and two together, and I realized that this was a very good alternative option for me, much like FS Avenger is a good alternative option for outspoken, controversial, free-thinking social media influencers like myself and David Carroll. So anyway, yeah, if you want to see that video, I think it's like a 19 or 20 minute video. It's available now in the description box and in the pinned post. Now, in regards to this case out of Detroit, Michigan, when I first heard this story, and as usual, I came across it. It actually wasn't one of the stories that brothers sent me, at least not that I can recall. I have two different ways that I usually come across horrific stories like this. One is brothers will send me an email, or two, I'll accidentally come across the story while doing research on something completely different. And that's what happened in this situation. I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I was scrummaging around on the internet and I heard this story that, as many of you may recall, made national news 2 months ago and went viral across social media, of this drug dispute between this white Turkish Arab half-breed and this black guy that turned into a triple homicide. And everybody was shocked and upset about this, even the white police chief. I don't think anybody with a heart who's human isn't disturbed by the just brutal murder of an innocent baby, which was this handsome 6-year-old little boy, always smiling. What really got me was seeing the boy posing with his dad, even though his dad was involved in some very bad, very criminal things, allegedly. It really broke my heart, because it bothered me because, even though the dad was obviously a thug and a drug dealer, he did something that a lot of black males in the streets don't do. He kept up with his son. As a matter of fact, he had partial or full custody of his son because the baby mother of the child and the man who was also murdered, Turkish Moore, they were separated. But the guy Turkish, he had custody of his son, and I hear family members always talking about how he would take his son out to baseball practice. He would take him for ice cream. He seemed to love his son, and even there are people even involved in criminal activities. I mean, if you go all the way back to like the Italian mob, I mean, just because somebody's involved in criminal activity doesn't mean that they don't have an affinity. They don't love and cherish their loved ones. And so, to see a black man, even one involved in the criminal underworld, and how much love he seemed to have for his son, and to know that was all wiped out in just a matter of seconds because of poor choices that his father made and poor choices that his partner in crime made, which we're going to get to in a minute. It was really heartbreaking. And people often ask me, I will say this, anybody who's religious that has had a problem over the years with me saying that I don't believe in a loving God, and I walked away from Christianity, which I was raised Southern Baptist, to believe in this loving God, and I've abandoned and I've rejected that belief system. Anybody who wonders, what my problem is with this God or this creator, and this notion that he's all loving, all caring, all merciful, if you pray, he'll intervene. You need no more proof of why I don't give a shit about any of that fantasy hocus pocus nonsense than horrific stories like this right here, where God doesn't intervene when an innocent child's life is on the line. Now look, the father, even though he kept up with his son, what he was involved in, and the hood rat girlfriend who he also seemed to be very romantically involved with, as you saw in the intro, always buying her goodies, Louis Vuitton. He bought her some flowers on Valentine's Day, sent her cards, and they're posing. Seemed like a real Bonnie and Clyde type of love story. Like, she didn't seem like just a side chick, this weave rat that was apparently his girlfriend. What was her name? Isis Remsen. She seemed like she was his main one, and I guess that happens in the hood too. Like, they had a little family thing going where she was helping him take care of his son, and they were truly in love with each other. You can tell when, especially a black female, you can tell when she's a side chick. But everything I've seen on her social media, this guy was her main one. I don't know. I'm not there, but I don't sense that there was a lot of messing around going on either of their part. The reason why is because usually people give off certain signs that all is not well in their relationship. Everything I seen on their social medias, she's always talking about him, how much he loves her, how much she loves him. He's always sending her, gifts. Y'all know what the argument can be made whether or not it's simping or not, because they were in a relationship where they seemed to be in, I guess, hood love, for whatever that's worth. But they seem to adore one another. So I mean, it's their business, and I can't, obviously, because there's a huge criminal element involved, I can't say it was a perfect depiction of black love, but they did seem to be in love with each other. She even had him in her in her phone contacts is my husband, even though they weren't married. Now, what I was about to say was, the father, he seems like he has a good side to him. He's taking care of his son. He loves his son. He's taking care of his girlfriend, even though he's not married to her. He seems to love her. He has both of them living in his house. He's taking care of them, but at the end of the day, he knows the high risk, he knows the type of high risk activity that he's involved in. And everybody knows that drugs lead to some of the most violent crimes that we've ever heard about. Drug disputes, drug deals going bad, yada yada yada. So the father being killed, that's one thing. Tragic it would be, yes, but that's one thing. The hood rat that was his girlfriend, ISIS, the police said later on that they found drugs and weapons stashed behind walls in the house. They actually brought in drug sniffing dogs. These motherfuckers had drugs stashed inside the wall, folks, and they had somehow resealed the fucking wall. The dogs started barking at the fucking wall. They took a sledgehammer to the wall, tore down some of the drywall in the home, and found drugs and weapons. So this guy seemed to be a high roller, but the girlfriend, she knew that he was involved in the drug game, as well as his ex, the one that said that she had actually met the killer of her child and her ex-baby daddy. She said she met him because he used to hang out with Takoyo right after he got out of prison. So she knew the risks. And I said it in the Breonna Taylor case. Everybody want to talk about, old black women march for black men killed by police all the time. Let's march for black women. I said, I told the brother in email, I say, look, if you lay down with dogs, you get up with fleas. If you lay down with drug dealers, you wake up with bullet holes in your ass. What do you expect me to say? When you live that type of lifestyle, or you hang out with people who deal with that type of lifestyle, you have to know at some point, and some of you brothers know what I'm talking about because you ran the streets. I don't know if you still running the streets or not, but you ran the streets, so you understand this to some extent. Okay, if you live that type of lifestyle, or you mess around with people who live that type of lifestyle, there's one or two things that eventually is coming. Okay, the police with guns drawn, or other gang bangers or drug dealers from a rival set that want to take your place or get revenge with guns drawn. Okay, at some point violence is going to kick off, whether the police come through that door or other criminals come through that fucking door. Now the argument can be made that there's certain criminals that have guns and badges, but that's a subject for another video. But the fact is, it's a high stakes game. There's a high risk of violence. And if you're going to be dating and fucking a person like this, you have to know whether you're sitting in the car, waiting on them to come out of the gas station, or whether sitting on their porch, or whether you in bed sleep with them. There's a high risk that at some point they could have a bullet with their name on it, and you could get caught in the crossfire of that. Okay, how many of these little hood rat heifers have we heard about that have caught bullets for their drug dealer or gang banging boyfriends? So if you're going to live that type of lifestyle, I don't really feel sorry for you. Okay, nobody should lose their life that didn't take another life. It is tragic, but at the end of the day, both of these adults knew the risks. Who I feel sorry for, the only person I feel sorry for, because you had the baby mama of the 6-year-old up there crying crocodile tears, talking about he still had baby teeth. Yeah, no shit, he's 6 years old. Duh. And she can't even break a tear. I question how much how, you know, close she was to that 6-year-old boy because he was with the father. And also we know that black women fight tooth and nail to keep their babies away from the fathers, especially if the father is involved in, you know, known criminal activity, which I'm pretty sure the ex of Tokoyo knew about. So the fact that the father, who is a drug dealer or drug distributor, had the child, you know, that points to the mother perhaps giving the 6-year-old to the father, even knowing what the father was involved in, because, you know, she didn't want to be burdened with having to take care of the little baby boy. That's what I'm kind of getting a sense of. So, you know, her crocodile tears, they don't affect me either. I know she's probably as much of a hood rat as the one that was executed. But, you know, okay, look, the 2 adults get killed. You know, they're not exactly innocent. They didn't deserve a bullet, but they're not exactly innocent. But you have this innocent child, and we've seen these nightmare scenarios over and over again, and in most cases they involve black on black violence, black on black crime, okay, where an innocent child that didn't do nothing to nobody, okay, the only crime was being born in an environment that they, you know, have no control over, that's really bad, that is filled with very people with nefarious intentions, and born to people that care, unfortunately, more about personal gain through any means necessary than they care about the welfare and well-being of their own offspring. So, you know, you have to feel sorry for a small baby that is in a situation like that and then gets caught up to the point where his or her life winds up being taken. I mean, I don't have any kids myself, but that is really, it's really heartbreaking. And, you know, I think a lot of the reason why this situation went viral was because unlike in 99% of the cases, the offender, the killer, the gunman, the assailant was actually a non-black dude. From my understanding, Nicholas Bari, which is his name, he is of Turkish and Italian descent. His parents, who he was living with at the time, because he had just gotten out of prison after doing a 7-year stint for running from police. His parents are of Turkish American descent, and Turks are like, they're kind of closer to like Persian, and Persians are, they're kind of like in the same ethnic group as Arabs, but not quite. So basically you have, you know, kind of like a Turkish, Persian, white half-breed dude who had been in trouble with the law since he was 17 years old. And, you know, kind of like Eminem, he was brought up on the other side of the tracks with the niggas, and, you know, he got involved in criminal ass nigga shit, and, you know, he did a bid in prison, and when he gets out, you know, his bright idea, as in is a lot of cases with convicted felons that are freed from prison, he's gonna go right back into a life of crime. Now, what I'm hearing about this case is that it all stemmed, the viciousness of the triple homicide stemmed from not only a dispute about drugs, but Bari, who had known Tokoyo Moore, the other drug dealer, they had known each other since their teens. Once he got out of prison, Tokoyo Moore had promised, to get him back in the game, so to speak, of, I guess the whole drug dealing and distribution circuit. But Nicholas had, shortly after getting out of prison, and keep in mind, he had just gotten out of prison September 20th, so he was only out of prison for a month, when he had actually accused Tokoyo of stealing a stash of drugs, narcotics, that he had hidden some fucking where, and Tokoyo denied it, and Nicholas said, okay, well, you owe me, motherfucker, and Tokoyo was, refusing to pay him, compensate him for the drugs that Nicholas claimed that he stole. And keep in mind, this motherfucker had been in prison for 7 years, so he's probably hallucinating a little bit. I'm assuming, just from looking at him, that he's doing a little bit of drugs himself. He looks like, one of them roided up muscle heads, that does more prescription pills than he does lifting weights. Subject for another video. But yeah, so apparently after a 7-year stint, he accused his former partner and childhood friend Tokoyo of stealing his stash of drugs that I guess he had stashed 7 years ago. Tokoyo denies it, and he says, okay, well, you owe me because I know it was you that stole it, And longer story short, after the argument and altercation that they had over that, this is probably the most disturbing part about it. Tokoyo, for whatever reason, he met with Nicholas at Nicholas's parents' home in Bloomfield Hills or Bloomington Hills or something like that, which I'm guessing is suburban Detroit. They were meeting for some reason, and at some point during that meeting, Nicholas Bari, the Turkish Arab ex-con, he pulled a gun on Tokoyo and took him hostage and forced him into his vehicle and forced him to he forced Tokoyo, the black guy, the black drug dealer, to take him to his home in Warren, Michigan. Now, before that, they drove around. This is from what information that I'm receiving from what police sources are saying. This guy told them. He drove around with Tokoyo in the car after taking him hostage, and he, tried to torture information out of him about where the drugs were, and if he had any money to compensate him for the drugs that he claimed Tokoyo had stolen. And he pistol whipped this dude. Now you can see Tokoyo Moore is a pretty big dude. They're about each other's size. So I'm imagining a situation where he may have tied Tokoyo up or something after taking him hostage, and he's pistol whipping this guy. One police source said that he actually broke his nose, and he's driving around with this guy in the car for 2 hours, torturing him, trying to get information on where the drugs are, and why this guy felt so deeply that his friend had taken his stash. I don't fucking know. But eventually what winds up happening is Nicholas Bari, after 2 hours of trying to get this guy to give tell him where the drugs and the money was, he forces Tokoyo to drive him to his home address, Tokoyo's home address, and takes him in the home, and that is where the most shocking crime takes place. He ties the girlfriend and the 6-year-old up, and then he proceeds to start abusing and torturing all three of them to try to get information. This Nicholas Bari guy, this is what I tell black women, talking about leveling up. Granted, this guy was a half-breed. He was like a half Arab, Persian, white guy, but these non-black dudes are some violent motherfuckers. They're just as violent as these Pookies and Ray Rays that y'all, complain about, that y'all, gave birth to, You run up on the wrong non-black dude, especially one as criminal-minded as this one, you'll be in for a world of fucking hurt. So he has these guys tied up in the kitchen floor of Takoyo's home, and he's ransacking the fucking place looking for drugs and money, but he doesn't know something that the police later find out, because they bring in dogs, that Takoyo is he's a smart drug kingpin. He has his fucking drugs and money hidden in the walls, in the dry walls of the home. So after ransacking this place, he takes the girlfriend, Isis Remsen, and the 6-year-old, which I have to imagine are probably begging for their life at this point, down to the basement. He separates them from Takoyo, who he still has tied up in the kitchen. And he, figures if he can, I guess he figured, I don't know, I wasn't there, but I'm guessing he figures if he can separate them, then maybe he can get more information from the woman and child. And after not getting any information from the woman and child, he goes back upstairs to Takoyo, takes Takoyo still tied up, and puts him in the trunk of Takoyo's car. Now, how all this commotion is going on inside this home, and none of the neighbors hear anything. Granted, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, because the incident started September 30th. And it went well into the night of October 1st. Then he goes back into the house and goes down into the basement, and he executes in cold blood. He executes Isis Remsen, the girlfriend, and Takoyo's 6-year-old little baby son. After executing those two, he goes back out to Takoyo, and he drives him from Warren, Michigan, back into Detroit. He drives him into East Detroit, and he opens the trunk, and he shoots Takoyo multiple times. And then, after shooting him multiple times, he goes to a nearby gas station, buys a fuel tank, a portable fuel tank, fills it with fuel, drives to a secluded part of East Detroit, and sets the car on fire with Takoyo's body in the trunk of his own car. So apparently this was a situation that I think, was a result of somebody who was extremely violent felon, who I don't really think, because they're trying to get the feds, Michigan, they outlawed the death penalty. I do agree that this case should be considered for capital punishment, but Michigan doesn't have the death penalty, so the police chief and the mayor, they said that they presented the case to federal authorities to see if civil rights or hate crime charges can be levied. Honestly, I wish they would abolish the hate crime law, because can somebody explain to me what crime in what case where murder, especially cold-blooded murder, is involved where a person does not hate your ass, whether they're the same race as you, same gender as you, or the complete opposite? I don't understand that. What do you mean hate? Okay, but they're trying to get federal charges slapped on these guys, even federal drug charges, because both of these guys were involved in some pretty high-end stuff. And Takoyo was probably eventually going to wind up getting caught and sent to prison for years and years himself, had he not been murdered by his ex-partner and so-called friend anyway. But this looks like just a tragic case. I don't think race had anything to do with it. I think it was a tragic case of, a violent ex-felon who got out of prison. He was probably bitter and hallucinating because of all those years of getting raped in the ass, and he was probably mad that his partner, he was in, but his partner was out, and he falsely accused his partner, or maybe his partner did steal his drug stash. I guess he went to where his stash was after getting let out of prison, found that it was gone, accused his partner of stealing shit. Set up a, after the argument, I guess he set up a meet and greet for, like a fake drug deal. Pulled a gun on him, and everything just kind of escalated from there. And I mean, as terrible as this is, I do have to fault, the black couple, Takoyo and Isis, to some extent. Not only for being involved in criminal activity, but also for not telling this guy, that the drugs were stashed in the wall. Now, granted, as violent as this motherfucker was, he may have just went ahead and killed all three of them anyway. But when you have a person that's willing to kidnap you, take you hostage, beat up your girlfriend and child, break your nose. I mean, it's one thing if it's just hand-to-hand combat, but this person has you bound and a gun on you, and he's beating up your family in front of you. I mean, at this point, you need to give it up, bruh. I guess he didn't think the dude was gonna do it, but I done told y'all these non-black dudes are just as violent as these Pookie and Ray Ray savages out here. Okay, you look through the history of the white man and the Arab man; those have been some of the mostly we think about them, in politically influenced wars, like World War II or terrorist activity. But you need to watch that movie called Gangs in New York. Some of the original gangbangers over here, some of the original thugs were white men. Okay, they have Arab gangs that aren't affiliated with terrorists that are just as violent as and dangerous as MS-13. Just niggas doing nigga shit in the Middle East. With no political or religious interest whatsoever. They'll fuck you up over there, just like ISIS will. So, these can be some violent motherfuckers. Usually in Western society, you see them as civilized, but they have their ne'er-do-wells as well. And Nicholas Assad Bari, or whatever his fucking name was one of those types, unfortunately. And unfortunately, 3 people had to pay for it with their lives. My personal opinion is, yeah, this guy deserves the death penalty, but Takoyo, once this dude, took him back to his home around his girl and kid, he should have gave up them drugs in the walls. He should have gave it up. Because, at that point, it's like, what do you have to lose? Again, I wasn't there. I'm obviously, like anybody else, I'm hearing this secondhand. But, if somebody's going to be that fucking violent, I just tell them, I just cut a deal with them, because, you don't want to give up the information that they're trying to get from you with your hands still tied behind your back. You want to give yourself some type of leverage. So you say, look, let my girl and my kid go. If you let my girl and kid go, I'll let you know where the drugs are right now. I'll let you know, I promise. Or try to see if you can wiggle your way out of being tied up or something. But just to try to act hardcore and tough and gangster with somebody this violent that has a gun on you, that wasn't a wise situation. And unfortunately, not unlike anything we haven't seen before, but 3 people, including one completely innocent person, a little sweet innocent baby boy, had to pay for it with their lives. But anyway, guys, sorry to have to tell you this story, but yeah, that is what it is. And if you want to see my how Marlboro Man mindset led me into doll culture video, if you want to see that is in the description box, as well as the pinned post of this video. Thank you so much for listening. Stay safe, take care of yourselves out there, and talk to you later, guys.